Okay, we're live.
Great. Thank you, Dario. I'll go ahead and call the meeting to order at 6:02. Good evening, everyone. Really appreciate everybody's time for the Citizens Oversight Committee this evening. So let's go ahead and get started with roll call. And Natalie, I'll ask you to do that, please.
And you know what? I'm actually going to do it this time just so
Well,
she can
Shonda,
see
go
how we
for
do
it.
it. Okay. David Chang, but I think we said we don't see him on here just yet.
Not yet.
Chris Fowler. And you guys can just say aye or here or
Here.
okay, thank you. Alan Gafford,
Alan Gafford here.
Erica Hawkes,
Here.
Aaron Moore,
Here.
Summer Temple,
Here.
Alana Jolivet. I don't think so. And then James Chura.
Here.
6, 7, 8. I feel like there was one more person. Please forgive me. Is there
Sean.
someone's name who I didn't?
Sean,
There you
Dunbar.
go, Sean.
Here
I was
am.
like, I know. Please forgive me.
No worries. I was
Okay.
figuring it's got to come up at some point.
You're on there. We got you now. Okay.
All right, thank you.
And yeah, no problem. So those are the committee members that we have here. Yes.
Excellent. Thank you, Shonda. And I do want to take a moment. We do have a few new members with us, and Chip and Shonda and Natalie want to thank you guys. I know you've been in recruitment mode. We had some vacancies to fill, and I'm really happy to welcome our new members. So I'll kind of go down and just ask you to introduce yourself briefly and kind of your interest in applying for and serving on the Citizens Oversight Committee. So Jim, can we start with you?
Yeah, sure. Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. So Jim Cora here. I'm 54 years in business in Long Beach. So I'm a businessman first. I did have time spent on the school board, Long Beach Unified School District, as a trustee, and I serve on 4 different nonprofit boards. And I think I'm very interested to be on this part, the back end of something that's very amazing for our college. And it's just such a good feeling to know that the oversight is being conducted. We had that experience before with the school district, and it's a really important function. So thank you so much for allowing me to be here. Thanks, Summer. She helped me find the spot.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Jim. We're really happy to have you. Sean?
Here we go. So Sean Dunbar, the biggest thing for me was that I'm actually new to Long Beach. I moved here in January of 21, originally from LA, but back to Long Beach from San Diego. I had been down there for about 16, 17 years. I've worked in the school building, school consulting space for probably the last 20 years. So being in and around schools, school construction, school bond programs has been kind of my career path. So this was kind of a little bit of a chance to get to meet new people, connect with the community while being, connected to the community college that's in the neighborhood. So it's a good opportunity for me to just kind of grow with the community and see new people, new faces, and new opportunities.
Sean, we're really happy to have you and glad you chose to get involved this way. I think we all strongly believe that City College is a great place to do that and accomplish a lot of the things that you mentioned.
Awesome. Thank you. Thanks for having me as well.
Absolutely. Thank you. And I'm just looking down the list. I don't see David has joined us yet, and I don't believe Alana is here, but we do have just a couple new members on the team that this is their first meeting. And Natalie, did you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Sure. Natalie Sevilla, Executive Assistant to VP of Admin and Business Services, CHIP. I am taking over Shonda's duty. She's handing me the baton. I am happy to be here, and thank you all.
Thank you, Natalie, and a special thank you to Shonda, who has been doing double or triple duty ever since I've known her, and that's several years. So here's wishing you one job. I'm not sure it's going to happen, but I hope so.
Thank you.
And Manish, did you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Manish Trivedi. I'm the acting program director for the bond management team. And I'm doing some presentation here. Welcome. Thank you, guys.
Great. Thank you so much.
Yes, I'm great.
And I know we'll hear from our auditors shortly, but I believe that we've hit everybody else. So welcome, everyone. We'll now move on to ask if there are any public comments. If there's any members of the public interested in speaking, you can go ahead and unmute. We'll be happy to hear those comments. Okay, hearing none, we will move on. We have no old business, but a number of new business items. We're going to start with the approval of the minutes from the October 10th, 2022 meeting. May I have a motion to approve, please?
Motion to approve.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Summer, was that you on a second?
Yes.
Perfect, thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, the motion passes. We'll now move on to the performance and financial audits. So we'll turn that over to you, Ben. Thank you.
Terrific. Thank you very much. And good evening to all the members of the committee. It's my pleasure to be here on behalf of our firm, CWDL, to speak to the results of the audits of both measures for fiscal 22. I'll be running through the reports at a fairly high level. Don't hesitate to stop me if any questions come up. I'll also pause at the end of each of the reports to check in with the committee and see if there's any questions at that point. Before I jump in, just want to extend our appreciation to district staff, particularly management over fiscal and over facilities. Our procedures and our requests take a bunch of time above and beyond the regular assignments that staff have, and they made our process extremely smooth. We were able to get everything that we needed to be able to opine in a timely fashion and ultimately bring these results to the committee well in advance of the stipulated deadline of March 31st, which is tremendous to enable the committee time to be able to hear these results and then ultimately bring them to the district's board. So very appreciative of that smooth process. And with that, I'll dive right in. The two reports that you see in front of you, and I'll share my screen right now so I can kind of walk through them as we go, are going to focus on three particular auditors' reports. And so I'm going to start by pulling up the bond financial statements. And if you could just confirm for me that we're seeing the bond financial audit report up on the screen with the independent auditors report kind of right in the center of the page.
We are. It's a little small.
Okay, good to know. Let me zoom in on that just a touch. Does that look a little better?
Much better. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. So the financial report, which I'll start with, contains two auditors' reports within itself, our independent auditors report, as well as our yellow book report. And I'll speak to both of those. And then there's the performance audit, which is a separate booklet onto itself. And that contains only the performance opinion. So starting with the financial report, that report begins really right away on page number 1 with our independent auditors report. That is our chief work product, where we opine on the fairness of the presentation of the Measure E and the Measure LB financial statements. And so had there been some kind of uncorrected misstatement or some significant disagreement with management, those are examples of things that would require us to modify our opinion. I'm very pleased to report we note no such requirements to modify the opinion. And based upon the results of our testing, we are able to furnish an unmodified opinion at that cutoff date of June 30, 2022. Unmodified opinion is the highest quality opinion that an auditor is able to render, and is to say, based upon the results of our testing, these financial statements contained in this document can absolutely be relied upon by this committee, by the district's governing board, and all of the bond measure stakeholders. And you'll see that opinion, something that's changed a little bit in the format required by national standards. You'll see that opinion paragraph right in the very top of page number 1 in that second paragraph, where we provide that unmodified language. Moving past that independent auditor's report, we go into the next section, which is the financial section. This is where the financial statements for Measure E and Measure LB begin. And so right on document page 4, we see the balance sheets for both measures kind of stacked right alongside each other. Measure E, the older of the two measures, and Measure LB. We see that Measure E at this point is pretty well wound down, just a small amount of assets in the form of cash in county, and no liabilities to speak of, resulting in that same amount of assets in the form of restricted fund balance, $134. And then in Measure LB, we see quite a bit more assets and liabilities. Measure LB assets consisting of $140.704 million in cash held in county. We've got accounts receivable of just north of $339,000, and then prepaid expenditures amounting to $470 some $1,000, offset by liabilities consisting of accounts payable as well as construction retention, both totaling $14.849 million, and resulting in an ending restricted fund balance, always restricted in the case of a Prop 39 type bond program, of $126.665 million. And perhaps even more interesting, on the very next page, so going to document page 5, we see the activities of both of the measures for fiscal year ended June 30, 2022. So we can see for Measure E, virtually no activity, the tiniest amount of recordable interest and investment income of $1, and that amount just kind of trickling down into the net change in fund balance with no disbursements made out of Measure E during the year ended June 30, 2022, bringing that restricted fund balance up by that $1 from $133 to $134 at the cutoff date of year end. And for Measure LB, quite a bit more going on. So we had 671 some thousand showing up in interest and investment income as earnings on that cash held in county. We've got expenditures broken out in 4 separate categories. So salaries and benefits amounting to just north of 524,000, supplies and other services, 54,000, 9.2 million respectively. And then the lion's share of the expenditures consisting of capital outlay of $35.67 million, right where we would expect the bulk of facilities programs expenditures to be in the form of capital outlay. And so we've got a deficit of expenditures over revenues, or an excess rather of expenditures over revenues of negative $44.818 million, which is offset by a significant new issuance amounting to an issuance against the Measure LB authorization of $150.525 million, which occurred during the year under audit, ultimately bringing a positive change in fund balance, bringing up fund balance from the start of the year at July 1st, 2021 of $20.958 million, all the way up to $126.665 million as of that snapshot date of June 30, 2022. So moving past the core financials, we get into the notes to the financial statements. Those are going to provide additional detail and explanation on the balances contained within the core. And so to start off, the notes, management provides some context and accounting policies pertinent to the bond programs. And then we've got just kind of a recap, really emphasizing that those ending net fund balance positions are entirely restricted to the ballot language for facilities acquisition and construction. And then moving on to note 2, we've got information on cash and cash equivalents and investments, essentially just describing the nature of those funds being held in the county treasury. And then on note 3, management provides some informational material on the bonds that have been issued against the Measure E and the Measure LB authorizations. Now, one question that we get from time to time is, this is a huge amount of debt. Why is this debt not shown as a liability in the programs? And we always like to clarify that this debt is actually not an obligation of the program. It's not something the program will need to repay. It's ultimately debt that's being assessed on the taxpayer base. So based on the Measure E and the Measure LB authorizations, voters of the district elected to increase the taxes on their property, on their parcels, in support of all these great facilities projects that these measures were laid out to be able to put into place. And so this debt will never need to be repaid out of the Measure E and LB funds, but rather it gets taken off the county tax rolls to be remitted to investors that are holding these bonds and ultimately funding these authorizations. So all of this, as we all well know, is thanks to the taxpayers of the district supporting these facilities efforts. And so we can see that information presented as an informational item in Note 3, covering both measures. So we see at a glance the debt of Measure E, and then going down, we see on page 11 the debt relating to Measure LB that's been issued through to date. And then finally on Note 4, we've got purchase commitments broken out. Purchase commitments are a little bit different than accounts payable in that these are items that have been contracted for but have not yet been expended. And when they will be converted to an actual liability that'll show up on the core financial statements, that will happen as soon as these commitments that are essentially signed contracts start to be performed. And that work is actually done, and those funds are owed to the respective contractors. But here presented as an informational item to kind of show the activity that's on the horizon related to both Measure E and LB, primarily Measure LB. And then getting into other reports, of which there are one, here is where we come to on document page 13, our Yellow Book opinion. The goal of the Yellow Book opinion is to really speak to our testing on internal controls and controls over compliance. This is where, had there been a breakdown in the control environment over Measure E or Measure LB, and that breakdown could take a lot of different forms, we would note that exception in this section of the report, and then we would further detail it out in the final section where we would summarize any findings and management responses. This is the single most common area to have an exception in a bond program. Very pleased to report for fiscal year 22, we note no exceptions to the Measure E and Measure LB control environment. So an entirely clean financial audit over both Measure E and Measure LB. And so when we go past the Yellow Book opinion and we get down to the findings and responses section, we can see for fiscal 22 where we would detail out any exceptions noted during the current year under audit. We have instead a blank page, the best thing that a program can ever hope to receive from an external independent auditor. And on the next page, where we would detail and provide the committee with a status update on any comments noted in the prior year, because that's always an important thing to take a look at, whether any prior comments have been implemented or corrected in the current year under audit. We note that there were no exceptions noted in the prior year either. So with that, before I move on to the performance report, just want to pause for a moment and check in with the committee to see if there's any questions over any section of this financial statement document or any of our procedures as performed for the financial audit for fiscal 22.
Thank you, Ben. And I think for the committee members, as we move through our different elements of the agenda, if you could use the raise hand feature, that'll just help me keep track. If for some reason you have any difficulty getting to that, you can raise your real hand. I'll keep an eye there. But I'll pause here if there are any questions for what Ben has presented so far.
Maybe a question relating to the finance, but possibly not this audit. Are there any, does college, plan to issue any more series within this 2023 year? Or possibly even refinance old debt?
So right now we're in the process of going out to bid for a underwriter pool. Our plan is it actually went live last Friday. And so we anticipate probably within the next fiscal year, we might be going out again, depending on the projects, how they're prioritized kind of going forward. We have a number of projects in the queue that are raring to go. And so the plan is to spend the next few months with the new RFP, develop that plan and get that pool of underwriters, and then make some decisions in April, May, so that we can report out in September kind of next steps. So I would say not between now and our next meeting, but possibly just after our next meeting, we might be looking out to move forward.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? All right. And Ben, I appreciate you taking us through those high levels of the notes and such, and also sharing, I think the change in format that's been issued to be able to share the opinion is good, because the opinion used to be, sorry, my cat gets very excited by audits. That opinion used to be buried, way down. And so I appreciate you pointing that out as a change too. So
that is exactly right. And actually, of all the pronouncements, sometimes we'll feel, more or less in agreement, with what the national standards dictate. That was one that we were really impressed by, because you're so right. And that's exactly how we describe it too. It was completely buried, oftentimes on the second page of the independent auditor's report. And that's the critical language that's in that report. So it makes sense to have it front and center. Definitely.
Absolutely. Perfect. Okay. I think we're good to have you continue.
Awesome. So jumping into the performance report, let me just zoom in. Let me know, how does that look on your screens?
Good.
Okay. Awesome. So the performance report is kind of unique. It only contains a single auditor's report, which is also the performance report, the independent auditor's performance report. And it really asks us to answer a single question, which is a pretty straightforward one. Were any funds spent outside of the provision of the ballot language? And that's something where, based on our interpretation, and this is something that we've spoken to all of the kind of significant focused auditors within the California community college space, consensus is that there is no materiality attached to that question. So if based upon our testing, even a minor exception, even a minor deviation from what we call performance, which would be basically an expenditure being charged to the bond that really doesn't fall under the ballot language. If even a minor exception like that is noted, our interpretation, shared by the other kind of major auditors that perform these type audits, is that requires us to basically explain that, not just explain, but cite that as an exception to the performance report, and then describe that in detail. So just to kind of give some perspective on where the rubber meets the road, we've worked with programs with burn rates in the tens of millions of dollars per year. And there might be $100 deviation on performance, where, say, a small portion of payroll gets charged to the bond that's ultimately determined based upon our testing to not be applicable to the bond. Nonetheless, even though that's so tiny, we would still note that as an exception to performance and bring that to the respective committee's attention, and ultimately request and effectively require management to reimburse that from unrestricted funds to reimburse the bond fund. So just to give you a sense of how sensitive this simple test is, and how easily it can be triggered based on anything that's determined to be outside of that ballot language based upon our testing. And so kind of going into this report, before I speak to the auditor's report, I want to kind of explain the methodology that we use to perform this test. And that can be found right on document page number 4, where we see these bullet points for methodology. And I really want to direct the committee's attention to one particular bullet point, which is the second one down, where we're looking at a sample of disbursements. And what I want to make note of is that it's a very large raw sample. So for instance, we noted that there were no expenditures out of Measure E in the year under audit fiscal 22. And so there was nothing to sample from related to Measure E, but for Measure LB, there was a very significant amount of activity. And so we note that we selected a sample of $20.919 million out of total non-salary expenditures. This is from our non-salary testing. Our salary testing is down below, of 44.965 million, which is a sample of over 46% of that non-payroll activity. That is very untypical of auditing procedures. Generally speaking, our standards require to attain a 90 or 95% confidence level in our sampling, a much smaller proportion of the sample. But the accepted norm for performance audits is to really blow past that. And so we choose a very large raw sample. And as I mentioned, if any item within that sample, whether our non-salary testing, or as we can see just a few one bullet point below, our salary testing, if anything trips that wire and is determined to be not under or not related to the ballot language, that would qualify as an exception to performance. Very pleased to note, as we scroll back to the independent auditor's report over performance, we note no such exceptions to performance for Measure LB, understanding that there were no expenditures out of Measure E for fiscal 22. So an entirely clean audit over performance for both measures, but significantly the one with activity for Measure LB. And so then just going back through the report, just to kind of share with the committee the sections that make this report up, that independent auditor's report over performance expresses that opinion as the result of our testing. And then the background section is going to provide some information on both measures, sharing the historical election dates as well as the authorization totals. So we can see the 440 million that was authorized for Measure E and the 850 million that was authorized by voters for Measure LB. In the performance audit section, we have the objectives, the scope of the audit, and then as we covered, most critically, kind of the methodology that we use for doing our performance testing, the conclusion based on the results of that testing. And then here on this next page, starting on page 5, management provides some supplemental information to share the activity of the program. And so we can see at a glance the authorization amount, the issuances against the authorization, the disbursements made against that authorization, and we can see remaining funds as of July 1st, 2022. And then the same detail broken out for Measure LB. And then here in the page 7, schedule of bond projects, we can see all of those projects that have been completed through June 30, 2021, as well as June 30, 2022, covering all of these different scopes of work. And then we see that information continued for Measure E on page 8, and rolling all the way through page 9, lots of detail on a project by project basis. And then starting on page 10, we've got that information pertaining to Measure LB. This is not information that's required to be presented. It's very helpful though, and it's terrific that management provides this level of detail to really make the programs transparent. So not just the committee, but anyone part of the community that's interested in understanding the work that's been done by the two measures can really see that in pretty good detail on a project by project basis. And so for Measure LB, that information starts on page 10 and goes through page 11, the final page of the report. And with that, I want to open for any questions any member of the committee may have on any aspect of the performance report or any of our procedures over performance for fiscal 22.
Thank you, Ben. Are there any questions or comments from committee members? Well, Ben, I want to thank you for that detailed report and also emphasizing how sensitive some of the opinions are, and to be able to again have another year of clean, unmodified opinions without items that need to be addressed. On the volume of funds that are going through the bond program and testing nearly half of those expenditures is a really high bar. So Chip, congratulations to you and the team. That's it's quite an accomplishment. So thank you very much, Ben. This is not an action item for the committee. These go to the Board of Trustees for approval. So we are simply receiving and filing that report. So with that, Ben, hopefully 6:30 p.m. That's the last thing on your work agenda today. So hopefully. So thanks so much and have a nice evening.
Thank you and have a good evening.
Thanks. Okay, we will move to 4.3 on the agenda, which is the approval of the 2022 annual report. This report is required as part of the bond programs to both go to the Board of Trustees and also to the community to detail some of the high-level items, some of which we just heard in the audit, and some other kind of summary items for the community of how the bond programs are functioning. And so to be able to have any discussion or comments there, I just first ask for a preliminary motion for approval.
I will move for approval.
Thank you, Summer.
Second.
Thank you, Erica. Is there any discussion on the annual report? Chip, what is your thoughts on timing? What Board of Trustees meeting do you want to take this to?
So this will, in theory, go to the February board meeting. It'll be an action item there at the February board meeting and prep. And I think will be great information for them to see. It's also good timing for the board as they're prepping for the budget. And we're starting to talk about budget for the next fiscal year at that time. So it really begins to give them a snapshot of the coming year, what's both been accomplished and kind of as we're planning for the future. So it's a really great time in February.
Great. Perfect. Thank you. All right, we'll move on to the quarterly expenditure reports. We're going to take these without objection. We'll take these both together. So for the periods ending September 30th, 2022, as well as December 31st, 2022. And Chip, are there any highlights that you want to note in there?
Just I'll mention as we have before that this kind of shows the activity of the accounts for the quarters identified. And you'll hear a little bit more as Manish and Walter present a little later about some of the projects that we've been closing out and some that we're gearing up for and that really kind of tie to these numbers as we move forward. So it's very standard. There's nothing really different than ones you all have seen before, those of you that have been on, but it really shows the activity in volume at a high level across the last quarter.
Great. Are there any other questions or comments from committee members on these reports? I just had one question, Chip, and let me, I'll just share my screen so we're looking. So for the September 30th, what causes the negative expenditures here? Is that kind of related to what Ben was talking about with some of the issuance and just a timing issue?
I believe so. I believe this part is kind of with the timing of the bonds as we move forward and how that moves forward. John, do you want to add in anything, or Lexi?
Yeah, go ahead, Lexi.
Go ahead.
I'm not really sure.
So basically what it is because we're on a modified accrual accounting system. So typically the June 30th quarter that ends in June 30th, we actually accrue all the liabilities and any retention that's outstanding. And so that quarter has a very high dollar expense, more so than the other quarters. And then as it rolls forward to September, we've reversed some of those liabilities and haven't paid them out necessarily yet, paid all those payables or paid that retention. And so we do have it's noticeable this year because we have a couple of big projects, Building M, and then the CLAC project where we haven't paid the retention out yet. And so there is a large liability there that got booked in June 30th, reversed in the new fiscal year. And by the next quarter, obviously you see we're positive again. And so it is just a timing difference on when that retention gets paid that caused that negative figure.
Great, thank you for walking us through that. May I have a motion to approve both the June 30th and September 30th, 2022 financial reports?
So moved.
Thank you, Chris.
Second.
Second.
All right, thank you. Any further discussion?
Sorry.
Yes,
could
thank you. I'm sorry,
sir,
yes.
Who was the second?
Summer.
Summer, okay.
Yeah, Aaron, just a quick question here. I know we're taking these, they're taking them at both at the same motion. I did not join the board until the 10th of October. So, I mean, I'd be abstaining from one and voting for the other. So how do you want to do this? You just want to do them separately, or would you like to, otherwise I'll just abstain on both of them.
Let's go ahead and thank you for noting that, Alan. Let's go ahead, Chris and Summer, if you're okay, we can withdraw that motion to approve them both, and we'll take them separately. Any objection to that?
No.
No objection.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you all.
So may I have a motion to approve the June 30th, 2022 financial reports?
I will so move.
Thanks, Summer. Is there a second? I will second that. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And abstentions?
Abstain.
Okay, I see Chris.
I'll join Alan's.
Okay, so I see Chris, Alan, Sean, and Erica asking for abstentions. Is that correct? Okay, great. The motion passes. Now let's move on to the September 30th, 2022 financial reports. May I have a motion for approval?
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I will second.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? And abstentions? Okay, motion carries. Thank you for noting that, Alan, so we could get that done correctly. All right, let us move on now to the fun part of the agenda. We get to see what all that money's been buying. So Walter and Manish, let's move on to the construction update, please.
All right. Good evening, everybody. As Manish introduced himself earlier, we're going to, in the effort of being a good steward everybody's time, we're going to go through here, get you the information, but we're going to be very, very quick about it. So we can have a question and answer session at the end. Manish, you want to go ahead and get started?
Sure. We'll go to the next slide. I know some of the people here in the team are new, so we decided that we'll start with the site plan and we'll start with the liberal art campus. And what we have done is that we have highlighted some of the projects which are completed in construction and which are in construction or in design. So you can see with the different color codes we have some of the projects we are doing. And if you look at this map, the north is actually on the left-hand side. So it's kind of like, because the campus is skewed. You see the Clark Avenue on the top, and then we have Conan Street. So just want to make sure that everybody's orienting themselves. And then we have some of the projects like M and D, which are in construction. And then we have building S, G, E, and B, and U, and M, which are in design phase. So I'll go to the next slide.
Okay, next slide. As Manish stated, with Liberal Arts Campus, you can see the Pacific Coast Campus. You see a lot of colors in there as well. So it's changing rapidly with red, you see the building in red, which is building MM. That's currently under construction. But as you can see, we got in blue a lot of buildings in design, and then we have a lot of buildings that's been completed as well. Next slide, please.
So this is our CLAC project, Kinesiology and Aquatic Labs. This is like one of the projects which is in the closeout phase. And this is our recently completed project, which is a softball, soccer field, volleyball, tennis court, and all the aquatic 50-meter Olympic-sized swimming pool. Right now, this project is in the completion phase. We are kind of getting the notice of completion is completed, and now we are working for DSA closeout. So, and this project has also been into a couple of awards. We got CMA award. We got American Society of Civil Engineers award. So this is like one of the good projects which we have recently completed. Next slide, please.
Okay, on this slide, you'll see a couple of photos. Like Manish said, award-winning facility. The larger photo is a ribbon cutting, and the two smaller photos, as you can see, is an area shot of the whole facility complex, and which includes the Olympic-sized swimming pool. Next slide, please.
This is our Building M project. This is a multidisciplinary classroom building. And this was the first state-funded design build project. So typically, if you're familiar with the state-funded project, they go with design, bid, build, but this is design build. So we have a design build contractor completing this project. And this project is also completed. And this houses our foreign art and language classrooms. And it's got some offices. And right now, the project is complete. We are putting in some furniture, completing the punch list, and notice of completion, paperwork, and DSA is remaining. So this project is pretty much complete. And you can see from the beautiful pictures, this amazing facility. We are also aiming for a lead goal on this project. Next slide, please.
And next slide shows just a different elevation from the previous photo. As you can see a classroom space there. And you can also see another elevation as well. As Manish stated, it's a beautiful facility, and we're very proud of it. Next slide, please.
So this project is our ADA accessibility upgrade project. By this project, what campus does is remove any accessibility barriers. The district had went ahead and did a CASP survey. By CASP, which is a Certified Access Specialist, which goes around and checks for any non-compliance. And we go ahead and address this non-compliances. And this project was completed. We splitted this ADA project in two phases. One is for exterior, and then which we just completed. And then we have the interior, which we are working on right now. So this project is also in the closeout phase. We just have DSA paperwork remaining. We just completed the notice of completion as well. Next slide, please.
All right, our next facility is at PCC, and that's Building MM Construction Trades 1. This project, we anticipate completing it hopefully spring of this 2023 here. And this project, I say this is phase 1, and this will house the HVAC and carpentry program. It's a renovation project with a couple of new buildings added. Next slide, please.
So this is the second phase of that same accessibility project. This is for all the interior non-compliance item. And right now we are working on this, and we are anticipating to be completed by 2023-24 winter. And as you can see in the pictures, we are addressing some of the non-compliant items, which have been tagged by the access specialist report. Next slide, please.
All right, LAC Building G&H, Music Theater Complex. Actually, this is one that we are very proud of, and we anticipate the start of construction on this. We did get the go-ahead from the Chancellor Office, and so we're excited about getting this project started. This building G&H, which consists of the music, dance, radio, TV, and theater. We got labs and we got offices as well. As you can see in that middle photo, we got an outdoor stage there. So we're excited about the possibility of hosting outside events, whether they be little mini concerts or poetry reading or whatever we want to have out there. And it's a great addition to the quad area. Next slide, please.
So this is again building MM at PCC campus, and this is the phase 2 of the same project which you saw, which Walter explained earlier. This is going to be demolishing the existing the east and the central quad, and then there's going to be a new building coming up, which is going to be housing the technology and anthropology and horticulture classroom. And we just completed the bidding phase, and right now waiting for the state chancellor's approval, and then we'll start the construction phase. Next slide, please.
Okay, this slide consists of a project that's listed on our integrated energy master plan, which we'll be doing a presentation on later. It's the solar panel project. It's in design now, and so we're excited about reducing our carbon footprint here and having additional solar power to make sure that our facilities are up to standard and meet green design. Next slide, please.
So this is building E at LSE campus. This is going to be a brand new building, and it will be housing our student union. We'll have food services there, lounges for student, conference room, international students, justice center, intellectual needs. This is right now in design, and we anticipate the spring of 2024 to start working or getting started on this project. Next slide, please.
Okay, next slide is an addition to the building E building, and this is an existing building that we have on campus that's being underutilized. So we decided to turn this facility here into a coffee shop. So it will be a great place for faculty, staff, and students to congregate, enjoy a cup of coffee, and we're looking forward to the renovation of this facility. Next slide, please.
This is our building S, the Veteran Stadium. I'm sure you all know this is one of our flagship of this town. This is an existing building constructed in 1949. It requires major upgrades, ADA, structural, and we did a feasibility study, and we're trying to kind of explore different options to see whether it makes sense to renovate it or to restart or do a new construction. We are also exploring different options. We had an industry day to see if there's an interest and different options to explore how we can get this project moving. And we have some rendering which shows some of the concepts of ideas of what we are exploring at this stage. Next slide, please.
Okay, this slide consists of smaller projects that is being handled by our facility projects group wing. And these are projects that were approved by the facility advisory committee. And these projects, if you go through the list, they are in different phases of scheduled maintenance projects. Some of them are completed and some of them are in design. So we're looking forward to finishing those. Next slide, please.
So this is some of the upcoming projects we are working on. Currently, the campus has an Omni system, which is for the access control. And this was out, manufacturers no longer supporting it. So we are coming up with a new access control system. We did a feasibility study, and we have started working on design phase. And this will upgrade all the campus access control system with use of ID card or the campus, all the employees or student can start entering the building. And then we also have student housing. We were approved from the state for design, and right now we are submitted for construction. Once we get response from the state, we'll start working on this project for student housing. Next slide, please.
Okay, this slide consists of another upcoming project, which is our North Long Beach project. That's a partnership with the city of Long Beach, which will house off-site classroom and offices. Also on the corner of Carson and Clark, Building B. We're looking forward to replacing Building B We're working with our partners, Gensler Architect, in designing this facility. So looking forward to getting this one done and making a big impact on the corner of Carson and Clark Street. Next slide, please.
So this is for our scheduled maintenance project. These all projects have been approved. So we have about $9.7 million for fiscal year 2021 and 22. And out of it, half of it is for instructional equipment upgrade, and half of it is going to be utilized to do the scheduled maintenance. Some of the projects you see in the list, you will see when we do the sustainability presentation, some of the items which we are addressing here, we will be kind of working on that, and some of the funds are coming from there. Next slide, please. I think next slide is the question and answer. We'll pause here and get a chance to kind of answer any questions you have.
Thank you, Manish and Walter. Are there comments or questions from committee members on any of the completed or in progress or upcoming projects?
Yeah, I just like to say, I'm sorry, I'd just like to say, oh, there's my hand up. I just like to say it's great work, and yes, this is the fun stuff. This is the stuff that the goodies that the community gets, and they're the ones that certainly have authorized it. So it's good to see things moving forward, and I'm sure the community, everybody looks forward to making sure that it all works together, and look forward to utilizing it. Thank you.
Thank you, Alan. I saw Sean, your hand, and then Jim after.
Yeah, I'll piggyback off that. There's a lot of really amazing work there. So congratulations and great work on that. Just a couple of questions on for the upcoming work, the projects that are in design but without a contractor. What's the preferred delivery method that you guys are going to go with for those?
So we have different projects with a different delivery method, and I can kind of speak to specific if you have questions. But I think we have indicated some of them in the slide. It's like building. Some of them are design build, and some of are design bid build.
So, like the ones for the coffee shop, and the one for the college center, are those they're in design?
So, college center is going to be design bid build, and the coffee center also will be design bid build.
Okay, that kind of seemed like that. And then for the solar panel work, is there charging stations that'll go with those? Or is there a plan to add those to the school, or do they already have them?
Sorry, go ahead, Walter.
Yeah, we currently have charging stations. We actually in both of the parking structure at PCC and the parking structure here on the campus at LAC, and we also have some surface EV charging stations over at PCC as well in the CTE area. So awesome. We do.
Okay, and then last question was about the housing. Where would that go? Is it on one campus, both campuses, or some outside real estate?
I can jump in there real quick. We just submitted our application to the state. There's a grant program that the state has had, and part of that program was to submit colleges to submit applications. I hit the send button on ours earlier this week on the 25th. I was very stressed when I hit the send button to send our application in. We'll hear in June whether or not we got it. The current location we have specified is the lot across from the Frontier Communications Tower. Currently, it's a location where the Frontier kind of Verizon staff there park, adjacent to Building X and the baseball field. And so it'll be on the corner there is where we're proposing roughly a 420 or so bed facility. That again would be, if we're successful with the grant, the state would pay the vast majority of that $90 million price tag.
Awesome. Well, good luck with that.
Great.
That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Sean. Jim?
Yeah, so I'm, of course, a new member, very impressed. And what a complete report. And I think it's okay that as members of this committee, we start out to be ambassadors to tell the story around Long Beach. So when people know what their taxes are, they also know that's being properly administrated.
Thank you, Jim. Summer, I saw you had your hand up earlier, but it's down now. Was there any other comment you wanted to make?
I was going to ask about the student housing, if it was still planning on being over by Vet Stadium. So I see that was already answered. But in relation to what Jim said as well, I'll add on to that. I'm amazed by how many people in the community have no idea about the oversight. Just talking about, especially with the last bonds being on the ballot, so many people saying, well, the ones we gave, especially the city college, already goes unchecked. And I'm like thinking, no, it doesn't. So I guess I do have a question is, after the board is a process to release that.
I'm sorry, Summer. We lost you a little bit on the audio there, so you can either.
Oh,
try
I'm sorry.
again.
Oh, I was saying, I was saying on. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So I was saying on Jim Core's comment, I was amazed at the last election about public comment on the bonds, about how there's no oversight and the lack of people that know about the committee. So I was wondering, after the Board of Trustees approve all the audit information, how does that get released to the public?
Well, the board's public meeting and all of the agenda and informations are subject, to, all the applicable kind of codes. So we'll announce, will be part of the board reports. It'll be a presentation, as well as, again, in February, Aaron will be there with me to present the overall kind of package to the board. So it's an opportunity for us to do that. I think there's always ways that we can market better and let people know the great work that's happening. But that's the main way that it gets out to the community through the board.
All right, thank you.
And if I could just mention real quick, Aaron, I come from, many of you know, I'm new to Long Beach. I came from Riverside City College and I was there for 6 years. In the 6 years that I was at RCC, we had one state funded project, one that we fought to get. And so when I came here to LBCC and saw like project after project after project, it really is impressive. And it really truly is a testament to the voters of this city, because that bond money allows us to leverage state dollars in a way that colleges that do not have bonds and resources just don't have that opportunity. I didn't have a bond in Riverside to be able to reach out and have some kind of owner match. And because of that here, this college and this community has really benefited. So it's really great. And I just want to say kudos to Walter and Manish and the entire BMT team for all their work on it, because it really is impressive.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I echo that, Chip. And we can't take for granted that the taxpayers authorized $1.3 billion worth of bonds for 2 campuses. And so that's why our students are going to campuses that are similar or exceed facilities at university campuses. And we're building for a whole next generation of students, rather than so many educational facilities that have reached end of life, but we're going to ask them, for decades more to serve. And I think some of the things on the projects here, certainly, the student center, what an exciting transformational space that will be. In addition to the performing arts area. And the other thing, Summer, which I think goes to your comment as well, that not everything is a new build or is seen in a ribbon cutting. Things over the years, like building access, like the central plant that produces the type of efficiencies that we need to support all these facilities, like the ADA compliance items. They're not flashy, but they're really important. And the other thing I think on your comment, Summer, is, in some ways, it's probably a little bit of a blessing, because that more folks don't hear about some of the things, because we're not producing any scandalous news in the bond program. It's very well managed. It's producing results, and like we already talked about in the audit portion, meeting some really high bars. Are there any other comments or questions on the construction update?
Just I wanted to note on Building M, all of you will get invites to that. We're currently scheduling that opening. It was mentioned by Manish, but we are looking at potentially in April or March, having that grand opening for that facility, and all of you will be invited to that to celebrate with us. It's a stunning building, stunning, and I think you'll be really impressed when you walk through it.
Looking forward to that. All right, well, at last meeting, we asked, as sort of part of our own professional development and learning in this area for the college, to hear about the district's integrated energy master plan. And so Walter and Manish have a presentation on that before we wrap up. So I'll turn that back to you, gentlemen.
Okay, we'll get started here. Manish, want to go ahead and get started?
Sure. Should I start the slide share or? Okay. So I think we made this presentation a little bit broad. We made it to sustainability report instead of like just focusing on energy master plan. Energy master plan is one of the key aspects of this. We can go to the next slide. I have agenda there. We're going to talk about the Long Beach sustainability and energy goals. And as you all know, Long Beach City College is a leader in sustainability. We have energy integrated energy master plan. We call it IEMP. You'll see it along the presentation. And then we have a lot of energy efficient projects. And then we have showcased some of the key projects on this presentation, so you can see what we have done on this campus. Next slide, please.
Okay, even though it is IEMP, the Integrated Energy Master Plan, is in its early stages, but we've already made some headway. We were recognized as a leader for our efforts for sustainability and awarded an Energy Sustainability Award by the Chancellor Board of Governors. With this plan, we have a clear path towards compliance with the governor's executive order to get towards district-wide net zero goals. So the projects that we described in some of in the construction project, the solar project, and other projects that we have on tap that's presented throughout this report, we're on track, and we're proud of our efforts, and we're proud of our goals to reach the net zero. Next slide, please.
So here we're going to kind of like highlight some of the operational practices we do at Long Beach. We have energy efficient strategy. In that we talk about energy modeling. So we model the energy, and then we go for the saving source design. We also use the daylight saving. So basically, if there's a daylight, the lights will automatically dim. We have water conservation, which includes reclaimed water. And then we have low flow toilets, filters, drinking fountains. So you can, if you walk around the campus, you'll see all the drinking fountains we have. It has the bottle filter filling station. Again, adding to the goals from Long Beach of energy sustainability. And then we have third-party commissioning for all the project. And then we have climate control. Like you guys can see, I'm wearing a jacket. It's kind of after 6:30, our air conditioning system is turned off. So, we're trying to save energy all around. And we have integrated all the BMS system, or our mechanical lighting control system is all integrated. So we have like a system where everything kind of works together. Next slide, please.
And in addition to the items Manish stated, and some of the additional items that is included in the IEMP is our energy and water use strategy, like Manish stated, by capturing rainwater and storing that to be used to run the sprinkler system, what we call gray water, to be used for the sprinkler system, toilets, and things like that. On-site energy generation strategies, That's evident in our new facilities plant that we completed here on this campus, not only to meet our current needs, but to meet our future needs as we continue to expand and grow. As I mentioned earlier, the electric vehicles, the charging stations, we're looking toward the future, and not just with vehicles. We are in the process of evaluating our fleet maintenance, but also not just like I say, not just the vehicles, but our golf carts, things that move people other than trucks and cars, gators per se, or what we call them, and having stations to charge those things as well, and to reduce our dependence on fossil fuel. Next slide, please.
So the energy projects we have categorized mainly in 7 categories. We include mechanical upgrades, control upgrades, lighting upgrades, and the new solar projects, and then water system upgrades. And we have hot water system and also some re-roofing to meet the cool roof and Title 24 requirements. Next slide, please.
And the next slide is you get a visual of the updates that we've done to our chiller plant here on this campus, and we did some work at PCC. We use state-of-the-art centrifugal chillers, which produces approximately 500 metric tons of energy for us. We'll continue to, and down at PCC, we had 200-300 ton chillers installed there. So like I said, just not only meeting the needs of today, but future needs as well. Next slide, please.
So this slide shows our LSE parking structure, which was built in 2008, 2009. And this at that time, it was the leader in its energy performance. It achieved 77% better than the Title 24. We had a 450 kilowatt of solar generation. We actually got a grant or for being the best or the largest solar installation, the second largest at that time. And we have a lot of energy being developed, and this is kind of like one of the adds to the solar generation on the campus. Next slide, please.
And our next slide is LAC Building V, Math, Technology, and Culinary Arts. This building has received LEED Platinum, as we stated in the previous report. United States Green Building Council. We're making sure that our facilities meet the LEED criteria for design and use sustainable materials. Like I say, for now and forecasting into the future. All of our buildings, we've directed our design professionals to pursue those LEED principles in their design. Building V has several important sustainability areas, which include water efficiency, materials and resources, energy and atmosphere, indoor environmental quality, innovation in design, and regional priorities. Next slide, please.
So this is for Building M, which Chip just mentioned that we are ready to do the ribbon cutting. This is one of our new projects which we completed, and we are on track of receiving LEED Gold. And this is like it's a beautiful building. Also has all the sustainability feature, including landscape, paving, irrigation system. All of the glazing is we have high performance glazing in there, and this is 20% designed to exceed the Title 24 requirements. It's over 20% from the baseline. Next slide, please.
Our next slide is Building GG, which is another LEED certified facility, which is LEED Silver. This building utilized recycled contents. And as you can see at all of our buildings, we try to use drought tolerant plants to reduce our water usage from our irrigation system. And we're proud of this building as well. Next slide, please.
So this is the parking structure at PCC campus. This was recently completed. You can see the picture in there. This is also has a solar feature in there. We are 200 kilowatt of generation. We have a charging station in there. We have a clean air vehicle designated parking spot. And we have a linear modular wetlet system for biofiltration, energy and efficient lighting. All the lightings are automatically turning off, when they're not used. So it's state-of-art technology we have used in this parking structure. Next slide, please.
All right, next slide is the solar panels at PCC. We'll be utilizing parking lot 1 and 2 for this installation. And with the calculations from the engineers, we hopefully we'll be producing 2,000 kilowatts of estimated production of solar power for the campus. Next slide, please.
So this slide is for our BMS, which is the building management system upgrade. District decided to go with Train as a sole source supplier. This is a very important project for energy sustainability, because what we do is we have integrated all the energy, all the system, mechanical system on this, so we can measure how much power is being consumed, or what is the energy consumption of each building. And it is important to note, make that, because now we can create a benchmark, and we can compare this with as we make progress in our design and construction, and we make upgrades to see how much savings we are making over the time. So it's a very important project to kind of benchmark and measure all those things, so we can actually understand how things are moving. So this is one of the projects which we recently completed. Next slide, please.
All right, next slide. We've been talking about an EV charging station, and now you get a visual. We got a couple of photos of some of the charging stations that have been installed here at PCC. I mean, here LAC, which is the bottom slide. That's in the parking structure. If you look at the top slide, that's one of the, those are some of the EV charging stations that I mentioned earlier over by the CTE automotive site. And with both campuses, we have a total now of 138 stalls, with more to come in future designs. Next slide, please. Well, that gets us to our Q&A session. So we're happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Perfect. Thank you, Walter and Manish. Any comments or questions on the Energy Master Plan presentation?
I had a question and a comment. Actually, just this is great. Thank you so much for this presentation, and just it's just very it's a great case study as far as showing sustainability, and it's really interesting. I teach urban planning, and how interested that our students are about sustainability and developing in that respect. Was there anything or any involvement for the students, or any type of opportunity for the students to be a part of this learning process, just because it's just so innovative, and it's a really great case study?
Well, we do. We have user group sessions during our design, and we invite student reps to participate in those sessions. And also during the construction phase of the project, when we set out to build a new facility, one thing we wanted to do was utilize them as a teaching lab as well. So like Chip stated, if you walk through building M, one of the things you will know is you look up, you'll see exposed ceiling grids that you can actually take a look at the mechanical system. So if someone is teaching mechanical engineering or mechanical principles and wonder how that looks and how it works, our students can have a bird's eye view and get a firsthand experience of how that looks. So we take the opportunity to do tours as well.
That's great. And also, I appreciate the EV chargers. I mean, considering that in California, all the cars sold by 2035 are going to be electric or plug-in. So great. Thank you for presenting on that.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Erica. Other questions or comments? Well, Manish and Walter, I really wanted to thank you for bringing this back after we talked about it at the last meeting. I think it's a really it's a great jewel, and I think there in one of the documents it was talking about when the energy master plan was first developed, all the conferences and other industry groups that it was presented to. So I agree with Erica that it's very innovative, and it's it's very thorough. So thank you for taking us through that. And okay, that is all of our presentations for the evening. And this is also my last meeting. I term out June 30th. Really been a pleasure to serve on the COC for 6 years, and I'm so excited about all the members that have joined either today as their first meeting or the last meeting, and really thank Summer for you stepping up as the vice chair, and looking forward to your leadership then.
Go ahead, Summer. Yeah, Summer, you go ahead, then I'll speak.
I just wanted to take this time to thank Aaron. I mean, 6 years, wow, to commit to this and to commit this to the taxpayers and your time. And just thank you for everything and your leadership. And thank you for taking the time when I joined the COC and I asked you to, just give me the lay of the land, for taking the time to coordinate me with the committee and highlight things for me. So thank you for your leadership as always.
Thank you, Summer.
Yeah, and I just wanted to echo that as well. Aaron, if we were in person, we have a lovely plaque that has your name on it that I would be handing to you right now. But as I told you, I was like, we'll get it to you when we see you now. But really want to thank you. The staff at LBCC has been so thankful of the leadership that you provided to this group. You really keep us moving. You ask great questions. You keep us on task, and we really thank you. Big shoes. Someone will fill some big shoes with you, and we just appreciate all that you've done for this group. So thank you.
Thank you, Chip. Been a pleasure. And I do want to note you have on your agenda a couple upcoming items. One coming up in March is State of the College, very important annual event. And Sean, I know you mentioned that you were looking to get more involved. Would be a great place to meet a lot of the college administrators and staff and such. So I know there'll be more coming out. And for those of you who have not had the opportunity to go into the Bob and Barbara Ellis Auditorium after its renovation, it is absolutely beautiful. And one of the facilities too, we're really excited about the streak of naming opportunities that are happening philanthropically on campus. That doesn't always happen at community colleges, and it hasn't really been a tradition at LBCC, but there's been a string of those, which I think is really inspiring. That was a $5 million gift that named the auditorium, the Ellis Auditorium. And then Chip, I know you and I also talked about that. For any COC member that may be interested in a tour of one or both campuses, that you can reach out to Chip or Natalie. We weren't organizing them as a group because we don't want a Brown Act violation of us all getting together. But certainly, I know, Chip, you extended the welcome mat for any COC member that wants to visit either or both campuses.
We'd love to take you around, show you facilities, show you what's been done, show you what's planned in person. So please reach out to us and let us know. We'll work around your schedule, and we'd love to host you on campus and have you come. And all of you will get email invitations, as Aaron mentioned, to College Day. We'd love to see you there. I know Dr. Munoz would love to see you there. And so we'll get you that information as well.
Great. And also be on the lookout, as mentioned a couple times, the ribbon cutting for Building M when that comes out, and hoping to be able to see some of you in person there. For the future agenda items, the next meeting is August 14th. The normal quarterly expenditure reports and the construction update. This is also an opportunity, as we did last time, where we asked for the energy master plan to come in. If there's any comments from any committee members of things that you've heard that you want a little more information on, you're welcome to either share that now or in the kind of intervening months, let me or Summer or Chip know so that staff can prepare those presentations for us. Any closing comments or things are on people's mind that we didn't get to address? Okay, well, thank you everyone so much. A special thank you to the staff. I'm sure your day started a really long time ago. And so we appreciate you. And thanks everyone. We are adjourned at 7:22.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good night. Thanks, everyone.
Bye, everyone.